Why are you doing this?
Well, I'm someone who cares very deeply about the country and about my party, and I've watched from the sidelines a long time, playing kind of a role as the umpire and calling some foul balls now and then. But I just couldn't sit back and say nothing as I've watched Donald Trump be more and more outrageous, say terrible things about George Bush, about John McCain, positive things about Vladimir Putin, then mocking a reporter, a disabled reporter.
Why didn't you say it when he first said the stuff about John McCain and later on George?
Well, I tweeted things out about those things. So I made it clear that that was a mistake, and I do that along the way. But actually getting in the race and laying out the full case against Donald Trump, as I see it, is something a lot of folks said don't do. You're going to get incoming from all different directions. You get all sorts of criticism. People will hate you and attack you. And it's like, you know, I just can't sit by. What am I going to do when my grandkids say, what did you do to stop Donald Trump? And I say, well, I didn't do anything. I'm not going to be there.
But you could also turn around, right, Governor, and say, well, who are you to stop Donald Trump if he's winning all these votes? That's the will of the people, and you might wince at what the will of the people is, but what do you think?
I don't think a lot of people understand who the real Donald Trump is. And you've seen the other two candidates on either side of him last night begin to say, look, folks, have you noticed what he's done? That he gave money to Jimmy Carter, he gave money to Hillary Clinton time and time again, and they're laying out the case. They're saying, by the way, his businesses, this Trump University, this is a guy who says he's worth $10 billion, who nonetheless wants to apparently fleece people out of $10,000, $15,000 to make a little more money for himself. I mean, it's
well,
really...
he says the opposite, but we can go back and forth on that. But you did want his support 4 years ago.
Sure.
So...
Oh, well, I want the support of everybody in the country. That doesn't mean I want to endorse all of them for president. I wanted his support. I certainly would not endorse him for president. And frankly, had I heard then what he's been saying during this campaign, I wouldn't have appeared with him.
So when he said yesterday, Governor, I could have said, Mitt, drop to your knees, and he would have dropped to his knees for that support.
Well, it's characteristically disgusting on his part, first of all. I mean, it's beneath the dignity of the office of president and even being a candidate for president.
I'm told that that is what really got to you, that you knew the fallout you'd get from this, but on those grounds, just personal decency grounds and the way you treat people, that's why you came out the way you did.
Well, it's temperament and personal characteristics, character, if you will. But those
a lot of presidents aren't saints, Governor.
A lot of presidents aren't saints, and they keep their foibles and their weaknesses to themselves, keep it in private to the extent they can.
Not all.
But this is not all the time, but they try to. But this is very different. This is a person who, on almost every occasion he can, brings this into the public view. And I mean, look around the world. I talk to people in other parts of the world. They can't believe it. They say, what's going on? How in the world can you be supporting someone like this?
But maybe it's the party's fault, right? Maybe the party has created this monster, if you want to look at it that way. And that...
No, Donald has always been Donald. I don't know.
Well, I guess what they're saying is the people are fed up, they're angry, and they want someone who's going to be a bull in a china shop and deal with China and deal with Mexico and stop letting them run around us.
Sure. Well, first of all, the whole decision of going after China was something you may recall from 2012 was a big part of my campaign.
Sure.
And at that time I said they're manipulating their currency, holding it down artificially to make their products less expensive. And that was true 4 years ago. Donald Trump and I spoke about that when I met him in his office. So we saw eye to eye. He's forgetting that that's something I wasn't a free trader.
You just draw the line at tariffs, right?
Well, the idea, the way you bring jobs back is not by putting a 35% tariff on foreign products. All that's going to do is raise prices for consumers.
Well, he disagrees. I mean, just today, speaking of Michigan, where your father, back in the early 60s, was the head of American Motors, he said, I'm a free trader, but I'm a really smart trader. And his message was for Ford, now building cars in Mexico. If they come here, those cars come here, this is 35% tax.
Okay, think about that. Okay, so Ford, of course, if they're going to hear their cars are going to have a 35% tax overseas, they're going to say, oh, that's a problem. But by the way, is he going to do that for Toyota too? So Toyota is not an American company. If they bring cars in from Mexico or from China or from South Korea, are they going to get a 35% tax? If not, then Ford's cars are going to be at a huge disadvantage to Toyota's cars. And then Toyota will wipe out the American market.
So you think it would start a trade war? Americans end up spending more.
Well, of course it does. Of course it starts a trade war.
You know, look, we could
be smarter. But by the way, we can bring jobs back to this country, and we can be effective in gaining an upper hand economically again, but not by putting tariffs in place. That hasn't worked.
But nothing's worked, right? He's saying we have this $500 billion trade gap with the Chinese. We have a nearly $60 billion trade gap with the Mexicans. Something's wrong, and everything conventional has not worked. So
well,
you say
there has been no real effort conventionally. Barack Obama had no clue what to do to try and bring back American jobs. Hillary Clinton has no clue what to do. I laid out during my campaign things that I think are effective. By the way, Ted Cruz last night laid out something that is extraordinarily powerful and true, and that is they have a different tax system, and when they export goods to the U.S., they refund the taxes to the exporter in their various countries. So when their products come here, they don't have taxes embedded in them. Our products do have taxes, so ours are artificially. Our products are 20 or 30% higher cost than they would be if we had a similar tax regime.
But you mentioned